Boss asked me to sign a resignation paper without a date on it along with my new contract. After messing up at work by calling in sick way beyond the assigned time, my day starts at 9, and I called in at 11. I got a stern talk with my boss and senior programmer. My boss was ready to fire me and had the paper ready and on the table, but the senior convinced him not to. As I was at the end of my contract, my boss offered me a new contract but wanted to have ability to fire me directly if he deemed necessary, so he asked me to sign a resignation letter without a date on it. I have not done this yet. Is this a normal practice, and should I even sign something like that, as it seems very dangerous in my view? I work at a small IT company of 5 people in Europe, so we don't have HR or really any dedicated people for this kind of thing. This is my first job and I have worked here for 7 months and for about 4 months internship before that. Update. I have not received the contract resignation letter yet. I expect to get those either today or tomorrow. I will not sign the resignation letter even though I don't know if I'll still be working there after that. After taking a critical look at the company I work for and considering that my contract ends in about a month, I have decided to start looking for other opportunities regardless of the outcome of this ordeal. Also, I work in the Netherlands, for those wondering. I will update again after receiving the contract and knowing the aftermath of declining it. Second update. Just had a talk with my boss, and he decided that he would not renew my contract. I'm kinda glad about this because else I would have to go through the confrontation of declining the resignation letter, and I really wanted to leave on kinda good terms. My last day is the end of March and I'll be looking for a new job from now on. Thanks everyone for the help. I really did not know what to do when I got an offer like that after 6 months into my first job, and you were a great help.
Don't sign that paper. I don't know the rules of your specific country, but resigning will be treated very differently to being made redundant, sacked in a lot of places when it comes to claiming any benefits. You said that this was in Europe. If it's within the EU, you might just be giving them an easy pass to get rid of you anyway while avoiding normal employment rules. No responsible company would expect this of you. If I was in your shoes, I would be polishing up my CV and looking to get out of there as fast as possible.
Giving a full answer. Calling in sick 2 hours after you are supposed to start working day is nothing to fire anyone. You could be at a doctor's office for that time. Had emergency procedure or something. Pairing this empty resignation paper and your boss wanting to fire you, they would like to have leverage to fire you while omitting some labor laws. For example, backdating your resignation, so it would look like you had required time to use your holidays, overtime or time to look for new job.
Ha ha ha, that's an excellently badass, reprehensible move of that boss. Don't sign anything like that, ever. If signed, it's a get-out-of-jail card for the company to circumvent any legal roadblocks to unilaterally end employment contracts on a whim, without notice. It also has impact on workers' compensation, severance packages and potential lawsuits against termination reasons. It might not even be legal.
Resignation is not firing as you state. The boss wanted to have ability to fire me directly if he seemed necessary. That's something they can do anyway, according to the contract and applicable laws, which is the key part. Firing you means that you get certain advantages that you lose if you resign in this manner. Even disregarding the blank date nonsense, that's probably illegal. If you had come to an understanding that they want to get rid of you right here and right now and asked you to submit a resignation letter, you should refuse to do that and have them fire you properly.
My boss offered me a new contract but wanted to have ability to fire me directly if he deemed necessary. This person wants to offer you a job, and as usual, there are conditions to it. You will earn XXX per year, right pointing arrow written in the contract. You will work XXX hours per week, right pointing arrow written in the contract. The workplace is in ABC, right pointing arrow written in the contract. The working relationship can be terminated by you, at your sole discretion, giving a notice period of X months, right pointing arrow written in the contract. The working relationship can be terminated immediately at the sole discretion of the employer, right pointing arrow separate piece of paper. What? Stating the terms you will be working under is exactly what contracts are for. He should include that in the contract, as simple as that. If the local law does not allow such a contract, it's your boss's problem. In any case, start looking for a better place to work.
In general, you should never sign a fill the gaps-esque document unless such gaps have been filled by yourself, before the signature, or with yourself present at the time of their filling, again, before the signature. If I were you, I would proceed in one of two ways. There is no need to not follow the rules, so if he eventually wants to fire you, he can have you noticed with the corresponding period. Hey boss, I understand that my behavior was not appropriate and that I violated some policies, so I understand that I may be on a thin line here, but I don't see why this is necessary. In the event of a dismissal, I think we are fine with the usual, legally stipulated, procedure. They cannot object to that asterisk, although of course you risk getting the 2-week period notification right at the very same moment. I mean, if you are to be fired, a 2-week difference is irrelevant, or, should I say, should be irrelevant. To me, this sounds like perhaps the senior convinced the boss not to let you go now because there may be some processes that you know of and that need to be documented, back up before you leave. So I wouldn't rule out the possibility that they intend to have you do the documentation, back up, whatever, and once they feel it's done, come to you with the paper with a date that is 2 weeks in the past but with your signature already on it. Nasty. Look for another job, of course. Okay, you broke some rule. You acknowledge that and come to some kind of terms with your superiors. It should end here, but then they come up with sketchy documents and procedures. Red flag. You probably don't want to work there anymore. In my opinion, at this point trust is broken in both directions. Asterisk, a very workplace knowledgeable person I know has a golden rule that I feel it's worth citing here. When in a negotiation, argument with a representative of a company, try to always state things that are irrefutable. Note that irrefutable does not necessarily mean true. It just means that there is no reasonable way your statement could be proven false and hence invalidated. Things like, I don't feel this is necessary, are irrefutable, because nobody can refute you saying you have a certain feel. Things like, I don't want to do that, are also irrefutable, but perhaps a bit more harsh.
Aside from the obvious, don't sign it, that has been stated in all the other answers, this entire situation is a huge red flag on multiple levels. Here's why. You called in sick too late. That can happen and is no reason to talk about firing. At most you will be told to do it earlier next time. Unless this is a repeat offense, the talk you had was very aggressive. This type of aggression is to make you think you depend on them, that they are doing you a favor by employing you. It shifts the professional relationship from trading your time and skills for their money to trading their money for your obedience. It's manipulative and you don't want to work for someone who would do this. The senior in there with you creates a good cop bad cop scenario, no doubt on purpose. They knew they were not gonna fire you or they would have done so. These things are not decided while telling the employee they're fired, that's already past the point of no return. Telling you you're fired, but having someone convince the boss not to at the last moment enforces the same shift in your relationship as described above. Signing a letter of resignation is what you do when you want to resign, not when your boss wants to fire you. If your boss wants to fire you, he can do just that, without making you resign. He doesn't want that, because it's easier and cheaper if you resign. This wouldn't be a problem if resigning versus being fired had no effect on you, but it does. You have significant less rights when you resign. You are being told to sign this document to create more power over you. Again, this shifts your relationship, and on top of that is in most countries very illegal. You are being set up to be a slave. Your boss wants you to know he pays you to execute his every command with no questions asked, and that he can take away your livelihood anytime he feels like it. He won't, because you are an obedient and productive worker, but he wants you to think he will. This entire situation is exactly what happens with abusive relationships. This is manipulation 101. Do not sign this document. Update your resume and immediately start looking for a new job. Don't tell anyone at your company, just get out of there ASAP.